only the people that recorded it got to carry it on.
True.
There could have just been a village full of savage warriors.
All right, everyone. We have a special episode today. It is just Kyle and myself. We are without our homeboy, David Batterina.
We are a man down. David, unfortunately, couldn't join us today, so we said the show must go on. We're carrying and charging forward.
We got to drop an episode every week. We committed to this.
100%.
So we're going to make it happen.
And I think what we want to talk about today is how global martial arts is.
Yes.
Martial arts around the globe.
Global. It is a global phenomenon. And what I find interesting is when you look, before we had jet planes and boats and inter-country travel, every society developed on its own. We were very siloed. We were very bound by where we lived.
Right.
Because mass travel wasn't a thing. But what I find interesting is that every culture on Earth has a martial aspect to the culture.
Because that's the only way a culture could survive. You needed warriors in order for your culture to survive.
Or else you get taken over. And it's all about resources back in the day. It was literally like, all right, who's got more resources? Boom. And that's how wars started.
And one interesting thing about that is martial arts, for whatever reason, I think it was to transfer it from like generation to generation, was documented.
Yes.
It's one of the few things that was documented, written down, and recorded.
Yeah. Put into scrolls.
And there's probably so many hundreds, maybe thousands of martial arts that were lost.
Yeah.
That weren't documented.
Right.
But the Japanese especially documented everything. Same with the Chinese. Why do you think that those two martial arts are so popular? Yeah, they were great, but the documentation about it
Made it last.
Yes, timeless.
Yeah.
It made it timeless. It made it carry on farther.
Interesting to think about. So the martial arts that no one knows about, because just turns out your tribe or land got taken over and your martial art wasn't very effective. And it's no more. It's kind of like Darwinism.
But that being said, only the people that recorded it got to carry it on.
True.
There could have just been a village full of savage warriors who were dominating everything and just didn't record it, and we would never know.
Yeah, there wasn't any live streaming back then.
Like Ugg and Thor were just the biggest beauties.
Who knows?
Man.
So if you look back at the history where some of the cultures that have martial arts as a very pinnacle part of the culture, like Japanese has, like, martial arts is very strong in the Japanese culture.
Yes.
Like it's a way, it's a do.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I find that fascinating, and I also find that is it the fact that they have ingrained martial arts in their culture which made it last, which made it get passed down from father to son to daughter to, it got passed down generation to generation.
Here's an even bigger crazy question. If they would have won the war, would it be the Americans that are passing down the martial art? Because they're trying to protect their tradition as everything changed, right? Because, Americans came into Japan, the system of martial art changed, like more sport fighting was adopted.
It was like illegal back then.
And
wasn't
like
it?
all these people had hidden scripts and were passing it around. Imagine it was the reverse. Imagine that the Japanese took over America and all the American fighting things were being...
Who knows?
Like, you have no idea. Is it the documentation or is it the effectiveness of the martial art?
But it's so funny because different martial arts are effective at different times. Like we look at, and then that's what one of the main criticisms now. It's like, that wouldn't work in the octagon. Yeah, because I'm training on throwing a spear on a horse, which is a fucking art.
Absolutely, yeah. And the other thing too is like how martial arts come and go like waves. Like ninjutsu, best thing ever. had its time. Karate, best thing ever, had its time. Like, I did not know about Filipino martial arts when I was a child.
Neither.
I did not know. Now I freaking love it.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. MMA, that didn't exist. That
Not back
was
in our day. There was no such thing as
mixed
MMA.
martial arts.
Yeah, what does that mean? Sorry, what style is that?
Yeah, which
It's MMA. No. What style is it?
and even how the MMA fights used to be. It's like, I'm a judo practitioner. I'm a wrestler. Now it's like, I do MMA. I do it from ground all the way to standing, and specifically for a ring fight.
But that's what I love about it, is that it does draw from the best of all the different arts, right? Like, if all you do is ground game and you can't strike, there's a hole in your boat. If all you can do is strike and you have no ground game, there's a hole in your boat. And that's what I feel like MMA has really done, is it does that. It takes everything, pressure tests it, extracts what's useful, discards what's useless for the octagon.
Right. And then you have the traditional martial arts. And there's the two fastest ways to learn culture. One, food. Great grandma's recipe gets passed down generation to generation to generation.
Yep.
Certain regions have certain types of food. You go to a certain place, like tacos are here, sushi is here. It's very cultural. People getting together and eating is very cultural. But the other fastest way into a person's culture is martial arts. And warriors have been amazing at passing down knowledge from generation to generation of what it took to go to battle for your country, for your people, and live and dominate. That's why these books like The Book of Five Rings, The Art of War, they're business books now.
Right.
Like, how is that possible? I bet you when Miyamoto Musashi was sitting down writing The Book of Five Rings, he wasn't thinking like, man, some dude with a laptop is really going to love this one day.
in Harvard.
No. Like,
of course.
that's how timeless those messages are.
Yeah, and that's why they stood.
And it's baked into the tradition. How the practice is done, the repetition, the honor, the respect, how the dojos run, the little bits of hierarchy within there. And I don't think hierarchy is necessarily a bad thing. I think it is a realistic thing.
Sure.
You have hierarchy on a football team.
Yeah.
You have first string, practice squad, quarterback, running backs. You have hierarchy in a school. The nerds versus the jocks versus
teachers, principals, and up it goes.
And you have hierarchy in the workplace
and in business. Yeah, it's structure to society, but it's also structure, and a lot of these structures, which I know are falling apart at times, they did what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to provide structure in an environment that needed structure, and now this is what's crazy about the time that we're living in, is that structures are changing and forests are getting burned down and new weeds are coming out, new blossoming flowers are coming out. You've got a mix. And I think what we forget is that forest fires are a part of nature.
Yeah. And
the old has to burn in order to usher in the new.
I think we've been blessed to have a collective memory of years upon years of good times. There has to be times in history where countries were at war nonstop and whole cultures are erased. Whole ways of thinking and being have been erased.
And it's true.
How war shaped the world.
And this is what I really feel is lacking in our society. I really feel we're missing context. I really feel like no one in our generation, our demographic, understands what war rationing is.
No.
Nobody understands. We have had like peace times ever since World War II. Like, we have, this is, if you look back in history, it's not normal to have this long of peace. Like, there is, it's just throughout history, there's wars, there's clashes of nations, clashes of superpowers. It's like, that is all, like, literally, that is what humans do, which is mind-blowing to actually think about. That's one of our primary activities on this planet, is fighting with each other.
It's crazy. And how do you know which side is fighting for the right thing?
But the thing is that they're both fighting for the right thing because they both believe it in enough to go to war, to sacrifice their sons and daughters. So that's what's so crazy, is that both sides think they're right. Communism, capitalism, like, you talk to a communist, they're like, fuck, this is you talk to a capitalist, fuck, this is, and they believe it. They're both right. They're both right to themselves. Right? Like, they both believe something so strongly that they're willing to kill other humans for it. That to me is also insane.
So is war just a human condition?
I feel like if you look at nature, man, look at what monkeys do. They rip each other apart. Are we not just hairless monkeys? Like, I would love to think that we're more enlightened, that we can respect each other for our differing opinions, and we can celebrate each other for our culture. I would love that. I think that's amazing. And I think life is more vibrant when you do celebrate the diverse, unique attributes that make us all individuals. I feel like that is a beautiful part of being human, is that we are all different.
And we do spread that light because there's a whole bunch of people doing amazing things. Now, do you think it's even good and evil? Like, do you think yin and yang is like 100% balanced? Like, do you think for all the dark times that there is the equal amount of good times?
That's an interesting question. Man, it's like, I bet you could build a case, and this is what's so interesting, is you could literally build a legitimate case saying that oh, there's way more good, oh, there's way more bad, oh, it's perfectly balanced, and you know what, they're probably all right.
Totally. I really am under the impression that it's balanced.
Okay.
I think the good and the bad is
in balance.
When it's out of balance, that's when you have these big events.
So was there more good than bad coming into COVID?
Well, we've been blessed for a long time.
We have.
Right? But what's starting to accumulate now is a lot, in particular areas of the world, a lot of negativity is centralizing, and it just needs to hit its pinnacle and then shift the other way. Because if you look at history, minus COVID right now, things have gotten better for people as a whole. Healthcare, like general rights, women can vote.
Yes.
Like,
statistically, life has gotten better for a huge number of people.
But people ignore that. People ignore how far the good things have come.
Yes.
There's something about bad energy and bad things. I just think it holds a louder frequency and a louder vibration than positivity. It travels faster in people's speech.
It does. Why is that?
I don't know.
Why do people enjoy talking shit more than they do sending blessings?
I think people enjoy talking shit because it's instant gratification. And we've talked about this before. In some primal way, it makes you slightly feel better. That you...
more than. They screwed up.
Yes.
Look at them.
And compliments, unfortunately, sometimes could be the worst. Like, that guy's doing so amazing. What am I doing? Like, look at that guy. He did this, and I didn't.
But isn't that from a place of insecurity?
But who is insecure in some way?
True. We all are.
Yeah. And it's like, I think most of the emotions are bad, aren't they? Like, considered bad. Like,
no, man, I feel like...
Name some good emotions.
Happiness, Juv, Loy.
Juv? Oh,
that's
yeah. That's
joy and love. Joy and love combined, Juv.
Yeah.
Joy, love, happiness, exhilaration, thrilled.
Okay. According to a study done a long time ago,
okay,
that I think has recently changed to include more things.
Okay.
The 5 basic emotions.
Okay.
And they are anger,
okay,
fear, joy, disgust, and sadness.
Only one?
Yes. Those are the 5 This is
Who's making this shit up?
those are the 5 basic emotions, like in psychological studies. 5 basic human emotions. This is on a lot of different studies.
What? So joy, because I feel like joy is our natural state. We are brought into this world joyful as little bouncing kids.
Right. Till you poop your pants and you get super angry and throw a fit.
True.
And then something jumps out from behind the counter and scares you. Like,
Yep, true. But the joy is something that
feels good.
and we all strive for. Joy is a North Star. Like, we want joy. We want to be happy.
But it's only 1 out of 5 of them. Of course we want it. It's it's the hardest thing to get.
Yeah. So fear is number 1, and that actually makes sense because
Well, they aren't in the list of
ranking?
Like,
Okay.
of ranking. Those are just
the 5 basic
the 5
emotions.
basic emotions. They have no hierarchy.
Man, how often disgust? I feel like I'm very rarely disgusted. Why is that? Why did that make the top 10 list? I'm
Well, like some people, like when they look in the mirror, when they look in the mirror, they're like, "Oh, I'm so fat today. Oh, I don't like this." Oh,
disgust.
yeah, the disgust.
I feel like there's more. Like, I feel like joy. Okay, so joy covers a lot. Happiness.
Yes.
Like joy is a good
big. It's a
umbrella
big umbrella.
world. Umbrella word. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there should be
More positive emotions.
in that list.
This study was revived, so maybe there is, but that's what it started with. Those were the 5 basic ones that a lot of studies started with.
Okay. Well, anyway, interesting. I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole.
We were talking about war
Yes. Yeah.
and why it happens. So if you look at maybe why negativity spreads faster is because it ties into more human emotions than positivity. I don't think that it's unbalanced. I think it has to be balanced. And if it swings one way, eventually it'll swing back the other way.
To
center or slightly the other way. Like if times are going too good, they eventually get bad.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It's a cycle.
Even in your life. Even in Budo Brothers. When things have gone too good,
It's so true.
it is literally like Mike Tyson waiting on the other side of that. Like,
ready.
I got you. There.
Yeah.
Back to
so true.
back to center. And we're positive guys. We're not always positive.
Yeah. It's hard. Well, but think about this. That to be happy all the time is an impossibility because what is happiness without the lows?
Right.
There is we live in a dualistic world, like what is hot without cold? It's all about reference. And so to say, I always want to be happy, that's impossible.
And emotions are just emotions too. If you're angry at something, it's for a reason. It doesn't have to ruin your day or your life or even make you feel bad after that moment in time. Perfect example for me. If I'm in a conversation with somebody and I'm just freaking fuming.
Okay.
I'm at the point where I'm able to say, like, why am I so angry here? What is it about this situation right now that is making me feel angry? Unfortunately for me, a lot of the times it's my own projections and my own self making myself angry. It has nothing to do with the person that I'm talking to.
They just triggered
They're
it.
just being me. They're just being them.
Sure.
But there's something within me making me angry. And as soon as you let that anger go, it is a huge learning lesson or tool to just be like, this what is it about this that I need to improve?
Observing that feeling.
Yes.
Watching it. And instead of being angry, you are observing the feeling of anger.
Yes.
Which is totally different.
Even happiness. If you're overjoyed and you're not conscious of the environment around you, like let's say you killed a math test, but you're the only one in your class that got a good grade. You're jumping around like, look at this, 90, 90, 90. Everybody else has a 50. Like, you're a dick.
Mm-hmm.
That's not empathy. That's not empathetic to anybody else's feelings. Happiness did not serve you in that situation.
Right.
Or like expressing so much happiness.
That's interesting I feel like we could take this a number of different rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But considering that the title of this podcast is Global Martial Arts, let's talk about how this all translates to the martial arts of the world.
So, how many martial arts do you think are created just to keep people happy versus actual tangible application? Or do you think that they were all once rooted in self-defense and like tactical skills?
I feel like the first part of the question was when martial arts gets commoditized to the point where it's a business and it's like, you know, that's where you get all the McDojo life stuff. And
shout out McDojo Life.
Shout out we're big McDojo Life fans.
Yeah.
If you're not following McDojo Life, you're missing out. Just saying. But that I really do feel like when all of a sudden you start to water things down so much and start believing in your own bullshit so much, that's the result. But I do feel like every martial art has its own roots, and that's where you trace the lineage all the way back and where it all goes. It all starts from a place of usefulness. I would like to think. I mean, I could be. I'm no historian here, but I'm just going off my gut. I'm like, if you're not actually, every culture has had to defend itself. Every culture has had to have warriors, because if you didn't, that back in the day, you were taken over and everything's gone. Okay, cool. Well, that was fun.
Sometimes I like to look at history through our current lens, and I want to take the fitness industry to make this example.
Okay.
If you were to look on Instagram or Facebook or any of the social media platforms, not knowing anything about fitness, not knowing anything about staying healthy, you would assume these fitness influencers are the best at fitness. They get the most attention, they get the most follows, they get the most likes. They're not good at fitness. They're good at getting the attention, and they're good at creating this persona and this profile. If I was to take that back thousands of years now, does that still happen? So are these martial artists the ones that pass down these secrets and this knowledge? Were they just nerds that could write? Maybe. Or were they the actual warriors?
I feel like back in the day, someone would have called you on it, and it's like, all right, let's throw down. And it's like a fight to the death.
Yeah, but the odds of being a scholar and the best warrior are lower.
Who knows? Maybe warriors were scholars back then.
I guess there were some. Yeah,
there
were some,
like,
for sure. But were they good fighters?
Who knows?
Because we're going to look at these Instagram people in the far future, and when you roll back the books in history, you're like, these guys were the best at that time. It's because they're the only record.
And who knows, man? Maybe this influencer thing has been going on for thousands of years.
That's what I'm saying. Things don't change.
Like, imagine like Zorro is a complete loser with the sword, and he just talked a good game. Yeah, when I fight an enemy, I strike a Z on him.
And like, I'm not talking like the Bruce Lees, Mike Tyson's, people that we have footage on. I'm talking way back when it was just words and like belief systems.
50 guys at once and killed them all. Well, there's no way to verify that. You can't be like, hey, oh yeah, check out this video.
And like those magic touch things, like they didn't understand. Imagine like touching a guy randomly and like just the next day he has a heart attack. They'd be like, that guy's a grandmaster.
Dude, even just the cheese stuff that you see, like if you're in a crowd and everyone's buying this and you're seeing 50 guys run up to this dude and he's just chi crushing them.
Right.
It looks legit. You're like, oh my God, he's a sorcerer.
I mean, imagine back then he was the best at faking that. He was like amazing at like faking people flying, and that became, this guy's legit.
And like, then I bet you
like
that
2-minute abs.
and then people would all of a sudden be scared. Like, I don't want to. Oh, he's got these superpowers, and then superstition on all.
And he wants to get rich, get all his shillings and gold, and he's just like, I'm gonna write something about this.
And even the term snake oil salesman,
Right.
that was an actual thing in the wild, wild west, like way back in the day when America was started. It's like, oh yeah, they would put on these shows. They would literally, a guy would have this freaking oil, and it would cure everything. There would be and they would stage it. It was like a traveling roadshow, and they would show up to like cities, and they just like, oh, gather, there's a miracle there, and they would have some dude with a crutch coming on. He'll take a swig, and then all of a sudden he's tap dancing.
Right.
And then guess what he did after that? He sold a shit ton of snake oil.
Totally.
Right?
It's crazy. And people are like, I could never be that naive. I would never believe somebody. And then all of a sudden you remember that one theory a long time ago was that the world is flat. Mm-hmm. And it's making a comeback in some cases.
Yep. But it makes you think.
So obviously whoever believes in that is now definitely right or wrong, or like there's images to prove.
Of course.
Right?
But that's the thing. It's like, what snake oil are we buying now?
Yes.
And it does make you question things.
Because that's never changed.
And right now, there's not a lot of trust in media.
Yeah. And as a martial arts, you are generally coming from a place where the most confident person is going to win your attention or your interest in taking that martial art.
Sure.
A lot of the martial artists who are masters at at their craft that I've met in my journey in martial arts have been some of the most humble people.
I feel like that is an attribute of a true master is humbleness. I feel like the ones that need to constantly remind you how great they are usually aren't that great.
Totally.
Don't you think?
100%. And it comes down to that confidence and belief in your skill and seeing it all and seeing it and doing it all before. We've had a chance to meet a few UFC fighters.
Yep.
And the one that sticks out to me the most is like Michelle Watterson.
Legend.
She is just such a humble, natural, happy, joyful person and has no ego about her with fighting. Because like she's a fighter. She fights all the time. She doesn't need to prove it. And a lot of them don't care about proving it anymore.
Totally. But such a good human.
Yes.
You know?
And I think that's the thing is like when you're unsure of what you can do, you rely on your ego. Your ego is your metric for how good you are, how good you think you are. Like when you're 18 years old and you want to go fight everybody because you want to know where you fit in. Like, am I the tough guy? Am I the wuss? And like you get this urge to go test it. And martial artists have been testing it, especially if they've been doing it before they're teenagers. Like they've been in conflicts. They've been in fights. Mm-hmm. They know what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. Mm-hmm. Whereas an untrained person, I find they're more likely to get into those stupid bar fights and want to.
Because they have, they've watched too many movies and you just slug them in the mouth.
And it looks like two freaking wild banshees swinging at each other.
Totally. It's always ironic because it's always the quiet one in the corner that you got to worry about. The one that's confident, that is not worrying too much. It's the barky, yada, 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 no sweat.
100%.
I don't know why that is. It's always, it's like, but that's kind of what we're talking about is ego propping up who they think they are versus someone who's so sure in and so centered and knows what they know. There's nothing to prove. They don't have to prove anything.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like if there is a place where it's like I don't know if I'm that good. Like I got to prove that I'm good and like they have to prove it cuz they're not sure.
They're not sure. They're not confident.
They're like I got nothing to prove and you know what? I want no trouble. most martial artists, most good humans don't want trouble.
Right.
Newsflash. If you're a good human, who wants trouble in their lives?
And
It kind of complicates things.
and I bet you the best warriors didn't want trouble either.
Straight up. But the warriors that when it came to it, that had to protect the sheepdogs that protect the sheep. When the wolf comes around, that's a different game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they're the ones that are going to step up to the plate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really deep. That was a good talk. Any final thoughts? And a Budo Brothers challenge.
Ooh, a Budo Brothers challenge. Well, okay, here's the challenge. Since we're talking about martial arts all over the world, martial arts all over the globe, I challenge every martial artist who's listening to this podcast to try a martial art that is not based on this continent or whatever continent that you're on, to try a martial art from a faraway land.
I like that.
Go try it.
I like that. And is that dropping in to try it? Is that getting an online course? What does try it mean?
Any way that you can consume that knowledge, whether it's a digital seminar, whether it's a course, whether it's a in-person training session, go
Just
taste.
jump in.
Go taste some martial arts.
I like that. And so for anybody listening, make sure you hit like, subscribe, like the Budo Brothers podcast. It was a really good talk about martial arts today and the journey and how it is a global phenomenon. We look forward to chatting with you on the next episode.
See you guys next week.